Hello, I'm Mary Murphy, Superintendent of the Marlborough Public Schools, and welcome to the March 2024 episode of Superintendent's Corner. And joining me this episode are
R.J. Scaza, Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning.
Jody O'Brien, Assistant Superintendent, Student Services and Equity.
I'm Nicholas Andrade, and I'm a 10th grader at Marlborough High.
Yanira Rosa, a 9th grader at Marlborough High.
And I'm Jimmy Verdone. I'm the Director of Bands at Marlborough High School.
Hi, and this is a very exciting episode for us because this is the first time we've had students join us. So sorry, but we're so happy that you're here with us. And I was just telling you both that I was so happy to see your Project 351 shirts. I don't think either one of you probably know, but you have a superintendent that used to be the principal of the Whitcomb School. And Project 351, our having students represent the middle school, the 8th grade every year, was a tradition that came from the high school, from when the 8th grade was in the high school so many years ago, and we continued it. So thank you so much for your service to the community and representing Marlborough so well. So do either one of you, you both did a project. Do you want to talk a little bit about, because from my perspective, from the building principal, we always had each team would nominate a 8th grader to represent the school. And then one of those 8th graders were the representatives. And you'd spend a day with 8th graders across the state, and you would commit to service. And that was our participation. And what did each of you do for your community service?
So my 8th grade year, it was like right after COVID, right?
Oh, yeah.
So like everything was like different for the project. So like every meeting was online, which it already is because like people are so far away. But like you had a lot less guidance, I felt like, than like someone like that's younger like would have. Because like I didn't have like someone always like helping me consistently. So a lot of it was like me doing it on my own. So I think it might have been more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then during like that meeting with all the other 8th graders, I couldn't even go because it was my dad's birthday. So like I'm not even going. But I wish I had. It was like, it looked like it was such a great experience, and the projects that we did were good.
Yeah, like for launch day, that was the first time where we all came together and met in Boston. And it was such a cool experience because like we all, like, I had no idea what this was or like what I was getting into, but I went in and everyone was so friendly and welcoming, and like you could tell that we were about to do something. And so we like had like the whole day that we were just in Boston, and we spent it all together, and then we went out to do service, and we like made Annie's blankets for people and like packed stuff. And it's just like super cool.
Over the last, I would say, 5 or more years, every year we go to the superintendent's conference, and we've had high school students from across the state present the Playbook initiative. And we didn't really know much about it. And then beginning of this year, we once again had a presentation about it. And Dr. Scaza took the lead on it and brought it to Mr. Verdone and the high school and to you. Dr. Scaza, do you want to mention a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you. We're learning, as we were meeting representatives from other cities and towns in Massachusetts at that superintendent's conference. And quickly I recognized that this is something that we wanted to have in Marlborough. So on the note of not knowing what you're getting into and not being familiar from the gate, Mr. Verdone, can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in Project 351 and the Playbook Initiative?
Well, it was a rainy Sunday morning, and so Dr. Scaza reached out to me. In my 15-year career, I've had a lot to do with mentoring, both here and at Northbridge High School, where I spent my first 9 years of my career. And student leadership and mentoring, to me, is paramount to the success of any program. So I felt honored that Dr. Scaza asked me. I felt it was a great opportunity to meet 2 students that I didn't know, and to also meet some great students at Whitcomb who I probably wouldn't have met throughout their time matriculating at the high school because of the different activities that they may or may not have been involved in. So that's how I really got involved. Was Dr. Skaza asked, and I said yes.
All right. And then we quickly found that to launch our participation in the Playbook initiative, we were called into Boston for a trip.
Can we just explain a little bit about what the Playbook initiative is?
Sure. That's what we started to learn when we
Okay.
got into
All right.
Boston, because the Playbook initiative is very large, and it's. Why don't you tell us a little bit about actually what the 351 in Project 351 means, and then the people that you met when we were in Boston?
So the 351 is for one ambassador from each city or town. So there's 351 in Massachusetts. So that's how they came up with the number.
And what's the mission of Project 351? So each of the ambassadors, just what you both had talked about, like community projects. Could you talk a little bit about like what's the mission, and maybe like that launch day, what did you learn as being part of that group?
Well, just like giving back to like the community and like representing like where you're apart from. And so like you like would give back by doing services through like spring service, which is like clothing drive, or like fall service, which is like a food drive.
And with the Playbook initiative piece of it, the Celtics Foundation teamed up with Project 351 after, I believe it was 2016-ish, when Jaylen Brown, who was then a very young member of the Celtics, went to the Celtics Foundation and said, we're looking to implement some programs within our schools to help teach how to have difficult conversations on anti-bias, anti-racist content. And Project 351 was a perfect partner for that. So the Celtics have been working with Project 351 now for a few years to have a lead trainer and a deputy trainer work with 30 students from the middle school. And in Marlborough, what we did is we had the administration and the guidance department pick 10 students from grades 6, 7, and 8 who would be our influencers within the building. And I mean, we could talk a little bit about the training after we get some more information about our voyage into Boston. But that's pretty much what was going on with the Celtics and Project 351 together.
Yeah, that's when we started to learn that the playbook was truly a metaphor for a playbook for how to handle instances of discrimination or injustice in any daily setting. So what the Celtics organization in partnership with Project 351 has done has put together a script for young leaders such as Yanira and Nick to coach younger influencers to prepare them for very difficult conversations that they might have as young individuals themselves. So this playbook was kind of our starting point when we were in Boston, and we were meeting with all these other great people from surrounding cities and towns. And toward the end of the training, they actually gave us some opportunity to practice some exercises. Do you want to talk a little bit about those exercises?
Mm-hmm. So when we went into Boston, we were like the students, and they were giving us the workshop. So we were put into an icebreaker, and we would like learn about how that incorporates with like anti-bias and discrimination. And we were able to like put it all together on how you would handle certain situations.
And so the playbook itself, it really reflects situations that were happening in our schools across the Commonwealth. And it was really, okay, let's take real life situations and write out what's going on. And then it gives the students an opportunity to practice and role play in the same way that if you're calling a play on the basketball court, you need practice at it. And so you just can't, call the play and expect it to happen. You have to practice it so that when you're faced with that in real life, they're able to, oh, wait a second, we did this. I know exactly how to mark this moment, have this difficult conversation, make sure I'm trying to open up some eyes to some potential things that maybe students didn't realize.
And you'd get a kick out of this. So as we're starting to familiarize ourselves with these tactics, a new participant to the group enters the room.
So where was this training? Because you said in Boston, but you didn't say where.
So it was at the practice facility, the Red Auerbach Center for the Boston Celtics. So that's a little hint as to...
Excuse me, I'm sorry, the league leading
Yes.
Boston Celtics, who have already clinched their spot in the playoffs.
Yes, on their way to the next banner is what we're hoping. So we were a little struck when Drew Holiday made his way into the room and sat down with us and participated in the exercises along with everyone else. He has kind of taken a lead role for the Celtics organization with Playbook, and it was really, really quite special to be part of that with him and other representatives from the Celtics organization. So once we got back from the Red Auerbach Center, things had to be put into place. We had to start moving pretty quickly. So can you tell us about what you needed to do in preparation for the work that lay ahead?
So like after we got back, we had like Project 351, they have like these meetings, right? So like they'll do a bunch of meetings on each of like the categories that they want us to talk about. So like we talk about like racism and how to, and they'd give us like a lesson pretty much on how to like go about these conversations, like similar things on how we can like implement that into our like workshops. And I think those like really did help in our workshops, because like teaching us how to like do these conversations helped like us like translate it over to our workshops and helped us like, I think, make a bigger influence on the kids. Like even I saw like a lot of growth between kids from like the first few minutes of the workshop towards the end. Like they already had more like, they seemed more comfortable, more like well like developed answers and everything, because I felt like they were learning more like as we were doing it. So it was good to see like the quick like progress that they had throughout the workshop.
And I think it's just very important to note at this moment just how talented these two young leaders are, in the ability that they had to immediately step into a leadership role and facilitate with 30 students that are not much younger than they are, topics that are very delicate and very sensitive. So it was amazing to watch you two in action. Mr. Verdone and I just kind of sat back and enjoyed.
And I think that's the really important piece to this whole project, is that it is student run. We all know, we can speak till we're blue in the face as adults talking to kids, but if it's a peer-to-peer interaction, it's more meaningful, because these two have lived what the current 8th graders, 7th graders, and 6th graders at Whitcomb are living now. And so they can speak from experience and they can identify with these leaders. I mean, it'd be very different if Dr. Skaza and I were doing this. You know, we're not identifiable to them. We're significantly older in some cases. And so, and again, to echo Dr. Skaza's point, that Yanira and Nick were outstanding in working with these young people, and have cultivated relationships with these students, which again, regardless if they continue with Project 351 or the Playbook Initiative, when they come to Marlborough High School, it's like, hey, wait a second, you came and spoke to us. And now we're like building relationships that can transcend this initiative into friendships and mentoring through the high school as well.
And I think it's important to note that we were pretty intentional with the selection of the 30 participants as well. We were looking for young leaders, leaders that were characterized in different forms of leadership. Maybe someone who hadn't yet had a chance to demonstrate leadership ability, or someone in the 6th, 7th, or 8th grade who had already a track record of demonstrating leadership ability. So we had a nice representation of kids in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I thought that first workshop went pretty smoothly, given it was our first crack at it. How did you feel about the second workshop when we had a little bit of practice under our belts?
Yeah, so the second workshop went a lot smoother because they knew what they were getting into and they knew what it was about. And they really like thought about like because we first tricked them with the icebreaker at first. So then they were more cautious and like they were thinking about what we were going to do and how we were going to put all of it together. And they really like showed how to put something into action for like a real life topic.
And if I could jump in too, and Dr. Skaza had mentioned the 30 students who were picked, you know, they were picked for a reason. And listening to them talk to you all, so articulate and well thought out ideas. It's really a testament to the teaching that is also going on at Whitcomb, because clearly the kids who are being selected are getting a lot of high quality education so that they can step into these roles and interact with people who are older than them in these difficult conversations.
Where are you holding the workshops? Are they at Whitcomb at the high school? Is it during the school day or?
Yeah, it's during the school day at Whitcomb.
Nice.
We had 2 separate locations. We tried the library. That didn't work out all too well. So then we moved to the common area that we all know well, and that was a little bit more of a controlled environment that worked out better. And we're talking about a 3rd workshop, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, that's not something that is standard. We're looking to make sure that we're really growing this program through the workshops and really making sure that we're spreading the message through the workshop. So we were talking about holding a 3rd one prior to the end of the school year to kind of send ourselves into the summer months.
And while Nick and Yanira, when they were in 8th grade, were ambassadors for Project 351, there was currently a 8th grader who is Project 351 ambassador, who I know Yanira has reached out to and to work with them on their day of service. Do you want to speak a little bit about that, of who that student is and what that day of service might entail?
Yeah, so Kayla, she's the new ambassador, and they're starting to do spring service, which is where you organize a clothing drive at the middle school, which is what I had to do. So I reached out to her because when I was an 8th grader, I like realized that it was like, oh, I have to like lead something in my school. So I want to like help her out and like show her like what my tactics were and like how to like handle certain situations.
So you're mentoring that as well.
Yeah.
Great. To get here, I saw that you guys had taken the high school van. Did
yes.
Dr. Skaza chauffeur you guys today?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is he better this time than the Boston?
Significantly.
So Dr. Skaza is an impeccable driver.
I'm sorry, I have to bring it up.
I felt very safe the entire time. When we arrived at the parking garage, which is a very enclosed area in Boston, no one had told any of us about the child protection device that is attached to the STEM van, where, hey, bus driver, don't forget there are kids in the back of the van. Oh, you won't, because I'm going to beep a horn at you in the middle of Boston, and none of us know how to turn it off. So we had to call one of the heroes in Marlborough, Mr. Jeffredzinski, and he was able to walk us through. And after about, I don't know, 2.5 hours, I think we were able to really get it. But today, on our way here, only 2 times.
Mind you, he said impeccable driver. I'll take that, like operating an alarm system, not so good. So I just wanted to say in my closing, I wanted to thank you so much for being part of this with me. You 3 made it so much fun to go through this, and the program itself is just so amazing. But, you know, in partnership with you 3, I thought we had a lot of fun. And keep your eye out for these 2. They are going to be doing special things in this world. I guarantee you of that. So thank you to you 3 very much.
Can I just ask one other follow-up question? So Project 351, every city or town in the Commonwealth sends an 8th grader. But the Playbook initiative is not something that every single city in town is involved in. About how many? Because I know that we are one of the few new ones that were accepted this year.
I believe it's 28.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say 26, 28, yeah.
Yeah.
28.
Yeah, I just want everyone in the community to know how special you two are, and that you're really working on the state level and on the city level. And thank you so much for everything you're doing for the students and mentoring. Great. Yeah. Anything else? So thank you for joining us for this episode of Superintendent's Corner. We hope to see you next month. Thank you.